Welcome back to the actual news. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Holidays. Whatever you're celebrating, I hope you had a wonderful time and are continuing this week on a high note. In today's newsletter and our episode, we're talking about President Biden signing over 50 bills into law, Russia downing Azerbaijani passenger jet, Ukraine under attack, and way more global actual news. Let's go. First, let's get to some quick news, and honestly, we have a bunch. First, Japan's Nippon Steel said on Thursday today it has extended the closing date for its $14.9 billion purchase of U.S. steel as U.S. President Joe Biden weighs in whether to block a deal that has faced intense opposition since it was announced. Pope Francis made a visit on Thursday to one of the largest prison complexes in Italy, opening a special holy door for the 2025 Catholic Holy Year in what the Vatican said was the first such action by Catholic pontiff. Guatemala is open to receiving citizens of other Central American nations who are deported from the United States, three sources familiar with the matter told Reuters, as the country looks to building a positive relationship with the incoming Trump administration. Israeli struck multiple targets linked to the Iran-aligned Houthi movement in Yemen on Thursday, including Sana'a International Airport, and Houthi media said 3 people were killed. The head of the World Health Organization said he was about to board a plane at the airport when it came under attack. A crew member on the plane was injured, he said in a statement. In Gaza, 5 journalists were killed when an Israeli strike hit their vehicle, according to local officials. The Palestinian militant group Hamas and Israeli traded blame on Wednesday over their failure to conclude a ceasefire agreement despite progress reported by both sides in past days. Hamas said that Israel had laid down further conditions, while Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu accused the group of going back on understandings already reached. The United Nations peacekeeping force in Lebanon called on Thursday for a timely Israeli withdrawal from South Lebanon, citing what it called Israeli violations of November 27 ceasefire agreement with Iran-backed Lebanese armed group Hezbollah. Lebanon said on Thursday it was looking forward to having the best neighborly relations with Syria after the fall of Bashar al-Assad opened the way to a new era in the often turbulent relations between the two neighbors. Syria's new authorities on Thursday launched a security crackdown in a coastal region where 14 policemen were killed the day before, vowing to pursue remnants of the ousted Bashar al-Assad's government accused of the attack, state media reported. Russia is willing to work with Donald Trump's incoming administration to improve relations if the U.S. has serious intentions to do so, but it is up to Washington to make the first move, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Thursday. In Ukraine, air raid alarms and explosions sounded as Russian missiles and drones targeted the nation's energy infrastructure. Russia's Federal Security Service said on Thursday it had foiled several plots by Ukrainian intelligence services to kill high-ranking Russian officials and their families in Moscow using bombs disguised as power banks or document folders. A Russian cargo ship called Ursa Major sank in Mediterranean Sea overnight after an explosion ripped through its engine room, and 2 of its crew are still missing, the Russian Foreign Ministry said on Tuesday. Finnish authorities on Thursday seized a ship carrying Russian oil in the Baltic Sea on suspicion it caused the outage of an undersea power cable connecting Finland and Estonia a day earlier, and that it also damaged or broke 4 internet lines. New York State will fine fossil fuel companies a total of $75 billion over the next 25 years to pay for damage caused to the climate under a bill Governor Kathy Hochul signed into law on Thursday today. President Vladimir Putin said on Thursday there was no time left this year to sign a new Ukrainian gas transit deal and laid the blame on Ukraine for refusing to extend the agreement that brings gas to Slovakia, the Czech Republic, and Austria. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration is proposing that cosmetic products containing talc should be tested using standardized methods to detect asbestos, a potential contaminant, according to documents posted on the Federal Register on Thursday. Taiwan's presidential office held its first tabletop exercise involving government agencies beyond the armed forces on Thursday, simulating a military escalation with China amid renewed threats from Beijing, officials said. South Korea's main opposition party introduced a bill to impeach acting President Han Duck-soo on Thursday, a day before it plans to seek a vote on the move, which could deepen a constitutional crisis triggered by a short-lived martial law. Peru's government on Thursday declared an environmental emergency in the northern coastal area where state oil from Petroperu last weekend spilled a crude oil shipment into surrounding waters of the Pacific Ocean. Manmohan Singh, the former Indian prime minister who governed the South Asian country for 2 terms and liberalized its economy in an earlier stint as finance minister, has died, local media reported on Thursday. He was 92. China has approved the construction of what will be the world's largest hydropower dam, kicking off an ambitious project on the eastern rim of the Tibetan Plateau that could affect millions downstream in India and Bangladesh. Saudi Arabia executed 330 people this year, the highest number in decades, despite de facto ruler Mohammed bin Salman's 2022 assertion that the death penalty had been eliminated except for murder cases under his vision for a new open kingdom. And now to longer readouts. On Tuesday, President Joe Biden signed 50 bills into law, including designating the bald eagle as the official national bird and preventing Congress members convicted of crimes from collecting pensions. Other notable laws include the first federal anti-hazing standard and a bill supported by Paris Hilton to hold youth treatment centers accountable. Biden has also signed significant actions such as vetoing a judge expansion bill, commuting death row sentences, and pardoning his son Hunter. These moves are part of Biden's final push to complete his priorities before the transition of power to President-elect Donald Trump on January 20th. The incoming and outgoing presidents offer opposite messages on Christmas. President Biden began Christmas Day by texting everyone his heartfelt Christmas message, quote, "For the last time as your president, it's my honor to wish all of America a very Merry Christmas. My hope for our nation today and always is that we continue to seek the light of liberty and love, kindness and compassion, dignity and decency. May God bless you all." He later also posted his kind wishes to all celebrating Hanukkah, followed by a message of Happy Kwanzaa earlier today. Meanwhile, President-elect Trump tweeted an angry message to all, including the radical left, the Chinese army, Canadian PM Trudeau, whom he again called governor of the 51st state, and all who celebrate Christmas. Quote, "Merry Christmas to all, including to the wonderful soldiers of China who are lovingly but illegally operating the Panama Canal, where we lost 38,000 people in its building 110 years ago, always making certain that the United States puts in billions of dollars in repair money, but will have absolutely nothing to say about anything. Also, the Governor Justin Trudeau of Canada, whose citizens' tax are far too high, but if Canada was to become our 51st state, their tax would be cut by more than 60%. He continues on and on, also on Greenland, that he kind of wants Greenland, and then finishes with Merry Christmas to the radical left lunatics who are constantly trying to obstruct our court system, and so on. Trump also sent another tweet announcing his nomination of the special envoy to Panama after a series of tweets claiming Panama Canal should be returned to the United States. Quote, "I'm pleased to announce that Kevin Moreno Cabrera will serve as the United States ambassador to Republic of Panama, a country that is ripping us off on the Panama Canal far beyond their wildest dreams. Kevin is a fierce fighter for America First principles as a Miami-Dade County Commissioner and Vice Chairman of the International Trade Consortium. He has been instrumental in driving economic growth." In other news, the President Biden, First Lady, and their daughter Ashley have landed in St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands, to celebrate the new year, continuing their annual family tradition. Vice President Harris and Second Gentleman Emhoff remain in Washington, D.C., per White House for now. The Second Gentleman Emhoff also shared the following caption across social media. He said, "With VP's support, I've lived openly and proudly with Jewish joy over these past 4 years. Today, I rededicate myself to finding light in the darkness and spreading that light to others. Wishing everyone meaningful and happy Hanukkah." Now to the news across the pond. King Charles deviated from the long-standing tradition of pre-recording the royal Christmas message at a royal residence such as Buckingham Palace, Kensington Palace, or Windsor Castle. This year's Christmas broadcast was filmed in Fitzrovia Chapel, London, a former chapel of Middlesex Hospital, now serving as a space for reflection and community connection for people of all faith or none. The location holds historical significance as King George VI, Charles' grandfather, laid its foundation stone in 1928. Additionally, the Christmas tree featured in the broadcast will be donated to Croydon BME Forum and Macmillan Cancer Support's Can You See Me project before being placed in the Royal Trinity Hospice in Clapham, the oldest hospice in the United Kingdom. Also, Catherine, Princess of Wales, was seen at Sandringham House accepting gifts from the public. And now a statement from President Joe Biden on Russia's overnight aerial attacks against Ukraine on Christmas. Quote, "In the early hours of Christmas, Russia launched waves of missiles and drones against Ukrainian cities and critical energy infrastructure. The purpose of this outrageous attack was to cut off the Ukrainian people's access to heat and electricity during winter and to jeopardize the safety of its grid. Let me be clear. The Ukrainian people deserve to live in peace and safety, and the United States and the international community must continue to stand with Ukraine until it triumphs over Russia's aggression. In recent months, the United States has provided Ukraine with hundreds of air defense missiles, and more are on the way. I have directed the Department of Defense to continue its surge of weapons deliveries to Ukraine, and the United States will continue to work tirelessly to strengthen Ukraine's position in its defense against Russian forces." Meanwhile, Ukraine's President Zelensky met with the Jewish leaders over the holidays to celebrate the first day of Hanukkah. He said, quote, "Today we mark both Christmas and the beginning of Hanukkah. It is very good that in Ukraine we can celebrate such holidays with respect for each other, communicate, live together, and wish different people the same victory, the victory of light over darkness. And today, together with the rabbis of Ukraine, I lit Hanukkah candles. This particular Hanukkah menorah was presented to me by President of Argentina during his inauguration last December. I congratulate the Jewish community on this holiday. I wish Jewish families peace, joy, and a prosperous future. May the Hanukkah shine in every home, granting strength, filling hearts with new hopes, and deepening faith in the power of truth and justice." Meanwhile, a passenger jet belonging to Azerbaijan Airlines crashed on Christmas morning with 67 passengers on board. Tragically, only 32 survived, all seated in the tail section of the aircraft. Initial reports suggested an onboard oxygen cylinder explosion, causing passengers to lose consciousness. Also, Russians have blamed the birds striking their engine. However, Azerbaijani government sources have since confirmed that a Russian surface-to-air missile was responsible for the crash of the Azerbaijan Airlines plane during an emergency landing in Aktau, Kazakhstan. The aircraft had sustained shrapnel damage, reportedly from Russian air defenses targeting Ukrainian drones over Chechnya at the time. This incident draws troubling comparisons to past tragedies involving Russian military actions against civilian aircraft. For instance, September 1st, 1983, the Soviet Union shut down Korean Air Flight 007, killing 269 aboard, while denying responsibility and suppressing evidence until years later. On July 17, 2014, Russia shut down Malaysia Airlines, killing 298 people. The flight, MH17, had no survivors. To this day, Moscow denies involvement, obstructing justice for victims. And the latest crash reinforces a troubling legacy of negligence and denial, highlighting the urgent need for accountability and justice. As history shows, meaningful change is unlikely unless Russia is decisively confronted and held responsible. Today, NATO called for a full investigation into this crash. Quote, "Our thoughts and prayers are with the families and victims of Azerbaijani Airlines flight J28243, unquote, NATO spokesperson Farah Dakhlala said in a post on Platform X. Meanwhile, following the sinking of two Volga-neft tankers in the Kerch Strait on December 15th, Russian authorities have declared a federal emergency in occupied Crimea and Krasnodar Krai. The incident resulted in over 4,000 tons of fuel oil spilling into the sea, which initially was expected to remain on the seabed. However, rising temperatures have caused the oil to wash ashore, affecting beaches and local ecosystems. Alexander Kurenkov has been appointed to lead efforts in managing the disaster's aftermath, with over 4,300 people, many of them volunteers, working at the site. The spill has raised concerns about the impact on tourism in towns like Feodosia, which lacks the necessary resources to address the spill and provide care for oil-affected wildlife. The Kremlin has announced plans for a federal-level state of emergency in Crimea, with local officials warning of ongoing challenges in cleaning up the spill. It's not all about Russia. The Eagle-class, part of Russia's Shadow Fleet, is under strong suspicion of being involved in sabotage activities in the Baltic Sea. This comes amid growing concerns over the damage to the Estlink 2 underwater electricity cable, which connects the Finnish and Estonian power grids. While the damage has not caused a power grid collapse, it has highlighted the vulnerability of the Baltic region's energy infrastructure. Belarusian analyst Ihar Tishkevich predicts further risks to energy stability, particularly with the potential for future damage to the Nord-Balt cable connecting Lithuania to Sweden. The Baltic states had planned to achieve energy independence from Russia by 2025, but disruptions like these in key cables could delay this goal. Additionally, reports indicate a Hong Kong-flagged vessel, the Xing Xing Tiang, was near the Estlink 2 cable at the time of the damage, prompting investigations into a possible deliberate attack. There are also rumors that the Biden administration may soon sanction Russia's Shadow Fleet in response to such activities, possibly before January 2025. A North Korean Special Forces soldier deployed in Russia's Kursk region was killed by Ukrainian Special Operations Forces, who discovered his diary. The soldier, sent as a part of punishment under Kim Jong-un's orders, had been disguised as a local Tuvan with fake IDs. His diary entries revealed deep loyalty to Kim Jong-un, expressing a willingness to sacrifice his life for the regime. In his final entry, he reflects on his duty to defend North Korea and the price of his happiness, ultimately fulfilling his vow of self-sacrifice. The Ukrainian Special Forces continue targeting North Korean forces units in Russia. And finally, on Christmas Day, a taxi driver in New York City suffered a medical episode, causing his vehicle to jump the sidewalk and strike pedestrians outside Macy's in Midtown Manhattan. 7 people were injured, including a 9-year-old boy and 5 women aged 19 to 49. 3 of the victims were hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries. The taxi sustained significant damage, though all injuries were not life-threatening. And that's it for now. Thank you so much for listening. And once again, I wish you happy holidays, and I will see you back tomorrow right here on the Actual News Podcast. Please don't forget to check our newsletter and the AM Actual News with video, where I report on the latest news to help you start the morning on the best note. All right. Thank you for listening. See you tomorrow on the Actual News Podcast.